Welcome to Teach Me a Lesson. I am Elliott G-B, and as always, first off, thank you so much for watching, for listening, for checking out the podcast. In this day and age, baby, you can have everything at your fingertips, so you could be watching whatever you want, listening, playing a video game, whatever, and yet you are spending that time here with us, and I thank you so much. It means a lot. Also, if you want to extend that support for the podcast for me, then why did I fucking say it like that? For me. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Grentradish, Grentradish. And you can also come see me live. Come see me do stand-up. I will be at Comedy on State in Madison, Wisconsin on March 23rd, hosting for Joe, Mr. D. Dombrowski. Going to be a very great show, and I'll also be there for the rest of that weekend. So for the 24th and 25th, hosting for Jordan Jensen out of New York City. Very funny comic. Both are very funny comics. It's going to be a great weekend. Great shows all around. So make sure to get your tickets now if you're in the Madison area before they sell out, because that club is great. Hometown. Love it. Excited every time I can go back. Can't wait to be there. And they just do things right. They know how to run a show. So make sure to get your tickets now before they sell out, because they usually do, and they go quick. So if you want to come out, show some love, that'd be great. Also, you can check out the Patreon. Boom. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm pointing to it right there. If you're not, it is patreon.com/ElliottGB, ELLIOTT. That is my name. It is my personal Patreon, but also for $5 a month, you can get bonus content for the podcast. So this podcast comes out every other Monday, and on the Mondays offsetting that, you get the bonus content. So you could be getting something every week for this podcast. And no days off, no time off, grind mode, baby, hustle, let's go, hashtag no days off. All right. So yeah, for $5 a month, you can do that. You also get a shout out on the podcast. I've done it before. So new patrons, you sign up, boom, you'll get a shout out for your support, because it truly does mean a lot. It'll help. I'm not trying to get rich. I'm not trying to go Rogan, get $1 million deal with this. I just want to have fun conversations with great people. But I still have to pay to host it on all these different services, and kind of production costs. It'll help cut down on that. So for $5 a month, you can get that. $10 a month, you get some merch. You get all that previous stuff. But also, if you just want to support, if you don't have that much, for $3 a month, you can do that. And it's just kind of a little helping hand. So go to patreon.com/ElliottGB to check that out. Also, make sure to follow the podcast on all social media platforms at TMAL Pod for Instagram and Twitter, and Teach Me a Lesson Pod on TikTok. Again, that is TMAL Pod on Instagram and Twitter, Teach Me a Lesson Pod on TikTok. And that helps a lot. As always, just share. It helps more than you know. Follow and share. Rate and review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Rate 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, anything below that, just email me and we'll talk about it like adults. But it really does help. It seems little, it seems insignificant, because all you have to do is tap a little button, and what good could that really do? But it really does mean a lot, because this society, this world is all built on Instagram and social media numbers. So just getting those numbers up, sharing, spreading the word, say, hey, I listened to this good podcast, or this is a funny clip, check out the clip, this is an insightful clip, it made me feel some type of way. Hit the Drake song, try to make me feel a way on purpose, but not negative. Nothing, we're not crying. We ain't crying over here. Nothing wrong with crying, but that's not what we're doing. So yeah, share, tell people about it, rate, review. That would be awesome. I think that is it. I do this every time, and every time I forget. Let's just get into it. This is a great conversation with a very talented artist, ceramics, photography, all that jazz. A little content warning. We do talk about the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter protests back in 2020. Still kind of going on today. We don't get very graphic about it, but if this is still a touchy subject for you, be warned. That is touched on throughout the episode. So yeah, let's just get into it. It's a great conversation. I'm very happy I was able to have it. Hoping to have him back on in the future. I hope you enjoy. Isaac Scott. There is a TikTok that I saw the other day that fucking killed me. That was it was like Gen Z. It's either Gen Z soldiers or millennial soldiers.
I think I saw the same one.
You saw the dude in like the pink hoodie, and he was like, "You shot me for what? For what? You're done."
Oh no, I saw a different one.
Oh yeah.
So there's so many memes out there.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
Oh my god, our fucking generation's so jaded.
It was so. You shot me, and for what? You're done. You're done. So good.
Oh Oh shit.
Fucking war, man. But anyways, what was
Yeah.
what's this lesson you want to
Back
talk
to
about?
us. Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, so I guess like the lesson like I was like wanting to talk about had to do around just like something that my work has been a lot about lately.
Mm,
My artwork. I spent in 2020. He's talking about global events. George Floyd being murdered. The 2020. Black Lives Matter protests slash uprising.
mm-hmm,
And I was out there all summer, and that completely like changed. I mean, it changed me. As a person, and it changed me as an artist. And so, like coming back to my artwork, I wanted. I was really like talking a lot about that stuff. I was talking about the environment that like we're surrounded by, especially like in Philly, like in the Black community. Um, all these things that people are facing on a day to day basis, and just like how do we address that? How do we like change things? And how do we carry on through stuff, Like how do
mm-hmm,
we face our circumstances and then like shine through that? How do we still like thrive? How do we still like reach our goals and aspirations and have a life that's, purposeful, we find meaning in spite of all that, in the face of all that. And so like my work from there is like kind of transitioned into like that specifically, like how
mm,
do we overcome these circumstances. And one of the things I was feeling like during the protest was like it's very focused on like tearing down things, very very focused on tearing down institutions, tearing down certain ideas, tearing down political structures, economic structures, things like that. And it wasn't too focused on building anything. And it wasn't too focused on organizing around something that was like sustainable or like, you know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
And I don't know that's like, it was what it was, but with all that it accomplished, it just kind of feels a little bit hollow now, because of
mm-hmm.
there's nothing that really like came out of it, Maybe a few more people joined activist organizations and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's in my opinion, it's like railing against something and trying to tear down something is not the best way to like organize around things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, or at least it just needs to be paired with building something, creating something. And I think it's like a fundamental change that like has to take place. Like, what are we building towards?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're only focused on tearing down, like what happens at the end of that? Okay, we tear down the incarceral system, we tear down capitalism. Okay, all right, now what? It's like
Yeah.
what do we have now? Like a pile of rubble, and we burnt everything down. All right, it's like okay, what do we build? And
Mm-hmm.
and so I think just like one of the things I've been thinking about is I think the first change has to take place. It's just like it's just within like each individual. And so I've just been thinking about that a lot in like how I can change. And and so there's basically like a lot of questions I've been asking like in my work about how that like takes place. So I guess like the lesson that I just want to impart on people is just like or I guess it's less of a lesson, it's more of like a question. It's just like what is it that you want to like build, like
Mm-hmm.
what is it that we want to create, and like how do we focus our energies towards building something better and like finding joy in that, because when you like make things, like when you build something, like you make this podcast, or like I get to like go to the studio and like make a piece of art. You know, it's like there's like joy in that process, and there's joy in like the completed thing,
Mm-hmm.
and sharing that with people. And I feel like that's like kind of like it makes life just like more meaningful. And one of the things that like I felt when I was like in the protests and stuff, there's just like so much anger, man, and so much pain. And the only way to sustain that movement was to stay angry, was to stay pissed, was to stay like in this like to stay like hold on to all this pain. You know, and there's a lot of reasons to be mad, and there's a lot of reasons to feel that, but it's like to hold on to it, to keep that so close and present and like on your mind and on in your body is like it's so detrimental.
Yeah.
Like it fucks you up. And I would see like you could just see people who was really out there like all summer, like by the end, like into the fall. I'm like, man, everybody's going through it, you know. And I felt so drained by the end of it. It was like it took a while to recover. It took a long time to process, and I just don't think it's sustainable, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like I think just like one of the things that I just want to think about a lot, especially when you see so much like this destructive act that's happening in like families in countries just being torn apart, and it's like so fucking tragic, dude. I'm just thinking a lot about like how do we build something better, man? How do we build something, and how do we help each other get to that place? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just been a lot on my mind, like lately, especially in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
The importance of that.
It's almost like, yeah, like you said, there's joy in creation, right? So creating something, and whether it is just a piece of art or you're creating a system for your community to kind
Mm-hmm.
of be the best that it is, at a base level, just the act of creating that and that process and just getting whatever the idea is out of your head and into the physical world. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's joy in that, but then there's also joy in knowing this could be here for years and years and years to come, or this could be here after me, or this could be helping people after me, or people that I can't even reach within my area if this idea kind of spreads and takes hold and stuff like that and is actually working. It made me think of when you were saying that there's joy in creation versus like the protests and just kind of the anger that comes along with that and tearing stuff down, specifically like tearing down statues and buildings and stuff. There, you would think there's a joy in that because you're angry and this is a symbol of what you're angry at,
Mm-hmm.
and getting rid of that, it feels good, but
Yeah.
it's not lasting. I would say it's not joy, it's like kind of satisfaction a little bit, but that's not really kind of sustainable, like
Mm-hmm.
that's temporary. That's very
Mm-hmm.
much like, hell yeah, we did it now. And it's like, okay, but now what? Like, either like you said, the system is still there because it was just a symbol of whatever it was,
Right.
or now there isn't a system at all because you tore down whatever system it was. So now what? Like, there has to
Yeah.
be, if we tear down capitalism, then what? Just, is
Yeah.
it a free for all, or is there,
Mm-hmm.
something better? So I'd say, is that kind of like what you were getting at, the joy in
Yeah.
creation versus the, I guess, temporary satisfaction?
I think it's more just like a shift of consciousness of like perspective of what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's not as much as like I'm condemning people going and burning down a police station after George Floyd was murdered.
Hmm.
It's not what I'm saying. I think a lot of things that happened were just like bound to happen and happen for good reasons. The tearing down the statues. I mean, I don't. I think a lot of the tearing down the statues thing. Like people are like, oh, that's not like productive act or something. It's like, but now you know the fucked up shit that person did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you like you didn't even question it before,
Mm-hmm.
but then now that has been torn down, and now you have to confront the history. Then like it there's a conversation that can be had there, and then the statue can be replaced with something that is actually productive, or like it is more representative of that population or something like
Yeah.
that. So I'm not saying that that's like always a solution, or or that's like just a bad thing to do. I'm not trying to say that at all, but I just noticed like from personal experience, just like seeing so much pain and rage out in the streets, and again for good reason, holding on to that for like months and months and months, and then
Yeah.
expecting a lot of people, are out in the streets, um, and especially the younger people who are in the movement. They're holding up signs and they're chanting like, "This is the revolution! Like this is the one! This is the big event!
Mm-hmm.
Um, as if we're going to like just go take the White House and you know finally become free or something. I don't know. It just felt like um, they're just hell bent on, or the focus was just on like destroying. If we just destroy, just take out these barriers of like, we just eliminate police officers and we eliminate the federal government or the local government or whatever, then um, then you'll finally get peace, or we'll
Mm-hmm.
finally have um, what we want. And it just doesn't work that way. um, and when you destroy something that's important to somebody, now you have a new enemy,
Mm-hmm.
who's then going to try to take you out, and they're just going to be hell bent on destroying you.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, just perspective wise, the focus should be more on like, what am I building? And if I have to like tear down the statue in order to build that, that's like a different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like, oh, I tore down the statue and mission accomplished. It's more of like in order to build this thing, or build towards the thing that we need to actually build towards, and we're actually organized and focused around that thing. I think it's then you're not like so like as much like held on to the negative emotional aspects of like what's happening. I don't know. I'm kind of just like losing the trail of thought here, but I just know personally that it felt self destructive at the end of the day. The holding on to all this like negativity,
Mm-hmm.
and I even think about like the day of the Chauvin, when he was like found guilty, like even hearing the words guilty, I was depressed. I was like it. I was severely depressed afterwards, because it was just like I heard that they had come to they're like, oh, they're going to have like a conviction, or they're going to have like the jury has decided or whatever what they're going to do. And as soon as I heard that, I just like felt like this insane tension in my body. Like I was so scared of what was coming next,
Yeah.
because I was like, if they say not guilty, bro,
Yeah.
I will not only be devastated, but I'm also horrified what's going to happen next. Like I'm really scared, and it's just like, oh man, it's like holding on to that energy, bro. It's just like terrible. And then like when you hear guilty, I just felt hollow, because I was like, because then people on CNN are like, a great victory, like justice is served. It's like, bro, there's no justice, bro. If justice was a reality in this country, he would have never been murdered.
Yeah.
Like he would have never been just like choked out in the middle of the street in broad daylight, live on camera. Like, and then people are debating whether it was okay to do. Like, what, dude?
Yeah.
So it just felt hollow, and so I feel like in a way, like Chauvin getting found guilty is like the tearing down or the burning of the building,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just like it's a hollow victory, bro. It's still not something that's like reaching towards the thing that we all want, which is like having this like fulfilling like life.
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think if you dwell on that, you dwell on all the problems and fucked up things that are happening, and and you're not just like trying to like build towards something. It's like it's gonna drive you crazy. You're always gonna be depressed. You're always gonna have anxiety. You're always gonna have like something tomorrow in the newspaper to rail against.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like I think the biggest thing I want to like just talk about, or like the lesson, I guess, is just to like make sure, like, just have something to build towards.
Yeah.
You know, focus on building something. Focus on having people around you in a community that is focused on that. Because that negativity is, it's like a poison, dude. It's a poison, especially when you're trying to like hold on to it just to like motivate yourself to, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
sorry, I've just
You're
like gone to this like such a dark place. I was like, I don't know, like I was, yeah.
no, I just
Just
like
with
how
the
you
whole
said,
Ukraine thing, has just got me fucking.
yeah. I just like how you said anyways, like you're gonna be like, anyways. So my lesson is exercise. It's really good
Yeah,
and
exercise 3-4 times a week. Eat leafy greens.
my lesson is
Buy
listen to your parents,
organic.
do your
Yeah,
homework.
buy organic is today's lesson. Support your local businesses. Fuck.
No, I mean
uh,
I get it and I definitely am with you on that because it was like especially with the protests and everything last year, I remember wanting to go, but then you're also like, one, do I have the physical bandwidth to walk around all day and be on my feet? And hey, getting old here. But
getting
two,
old.
but two, like mentally, after like weeks of doing that, you're like,
Mhm.
can I keep doing that as well? But then three, it's like the news is just pushing out every little thing that goes wrong at any organized event, and then you have people like
Mhm.
attacking people there, so you're like,
Right.
physically, will I be safe? And then that's
Mhm.
all. So yeah, definitely holding on to that. So I think, would you say kind of it's more of just like find whatever, not necessarily exercise, but find the thing that is still working towards what your goal is, but also gives you kind of like a relief a little bit. So like create, finding like, okay, I'm still fighting this fight, but also like, especially if you're an artist or, any sort of creative person, like building. So, well, I guess it could be like physically too, because you could be just good with your hands. So you're like, all right, let me build a stand to hand out water at but like something that I can like either physically or mentally kind of exercise myself, and that'll bring me some joy and relief, and I'm still on the path to fight whatever good fight I'm trying to do or work towards whatever
Mhm.
goal, but I just need some relief versus just sitting here and just kind of allowing all the just negative shit or whatever realities to sit in and kind of get you down. Would you say kind
Yeah.
of like that's it, is find like uh
Foundation, bro.
your foundation? Or I was almost thinking I
Yeah.
was gonna say like a fidget spinner, just something that like
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
grounds you. It grounds you a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah. It
and
grounds you.
then
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there is like, I mean, going back to my artwork, I'm like thinking a lot about like what is that foundation. Um, so I've made these sculptures, and they're kind of like representative of like how our environment collects on us. So like especially I'm thinking about Philadelphia, North Philly, where I'm living, is you have like crumbling infrastructure fucking
Hmm.
everywhere in the city, and then you have like gun violence or the threat of police violence, or yeah, or like yeah, just the carceral system. All these different it's almost always like landmines around you at all times that could derail you, um, set you back from like your goals, or just living like a meaningful, peaceful life. But at the same time, you see people. doing incredible things, or just finding joy in those spaces, and just living their life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I just think it speaks to a lot to just like human resilience and our ability to be creative and finding joy in what we do. But like, but what is that thing then? Like, what is that thing though that like that grounds you? That is your foundation to help you through that. I mean, for a lot of people, it's religion or something.
Yeah.
There's churches everywhere. You know, in Philly, and there's a lot of people that go to church, and I feel like that's like their way to ground themselves, to like get through a lot of the shit, and find perspective on it. But like on these sculptures, there's like these parts that represent like how all this stuff is collecting on you, and then there's like this orb in the center that is untouched by the rest of it. And I keep on coming back to this like black circle as kind of representing something essential, some essential part of like yourself, like that is like kind of like unmoved. It's like it's un it becomes like uncorrupted by
Yeah.
the surrounding like elements or whatever. So and like in what is that? Like I'm not really sure. I don't have like an answer for that. It's more just like a question. Um, and I think it could just be like different for everybody. But I think it's something to think about and something to search for, to try to figure out about yourself. Because like throughout all this shit that's just like depressing, and just like the wild shit's happening in the country and in the world, it's like, what is that thing that it's just gonna get us through all that shit, and
Yeah.
like what are we still reaching for? What are we still building towards? What are we still growing towards at the end of the day? And like I'm not sure if I don't think I have like an answer for that or anything, but I think it's something that I've been thinking a lot about, and just like, how do I stay motivated? How do I keep moving towards the things that I want to get done in spite of all this? Because a lot of times as an artist, you're just like, I'm making all this crazy shit's happening in the world, and I'm making what?
Yeah.
Like I'm making this weird looking thing, and like people don't buy it or even care that I'm making it, and it's like, why, who am I to make this shit while all this shit's going on? So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, it's a question that's like always just kind of like there.
Yeah. Well, so you kind of mentioned the art. You mentioned you're in Philly, but what's like a quick backstory on you to get people caught up?
Well, I am from Madison, Wisconsin.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Madtown. And I like started doing ceramics when I was a junior in high school at West High School. Shout out to West High School.
Shout out.
And it's something I just kind of just like never stopped doing. When I was in college, I was like getting to the end of college, and I was just like, well, what am I going to do with my life? And the only thing I could see myself still doing like 30 years down the line was like still making pots, I guess, like, or just like working in clay in some way. So I kind of just decided to be, an artist, and that's just like what I've been pursuing ever since then. And just recently, I graduated from Tyler School of Art in architecture, which is part of Temple University with my MFA. So, yeah. So now I'm a master of fine art.
There you go. Hey, say that shit, bro. Say that shit with your chest.
Master of fucking fine art. Let's go.
Say that shit with your chest. Speak on it.
That's, I mean, again, like that's like, art has just been something that I always just keep coming back to, and is kind of like that foundation for me. It's like, as long as, when I'm in the studio making stuff, that's like what makes me feel better. It makes me, it's like therapeutic. It's something that keeps me going and keeps like life exciting. And it also is a way for me to like process the crazy shit that's happening in the world, and think about it and be able to like speak on it in ways that I like to do. And so, yeah, I just think that's like, thank God I had, art after those protests, man. 'Cause it's like, that shit like really just left me in a weird place, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that got like it was really important to have something like that in your life and to really just be focused on what you're building, because oof, getting lost on the other side is just I think yeah, it's a really sad place.
Because to make any sort of art or even just speak on a subject, because I mean, to make the, whether you're making like a painting or a sculpture or even thinking of like stand up or just writing,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
you have
Or
to,
building a company, being an entrepreneur.
yeah, you have to think about
Yeah.
how you feel about whatever subject you're trying to approach, to think about, okay, how am I going to get this out, you know? And especially with stand up, whether it's like a little joke about riding the subway or something as big as, you know, the protests and everything that was going on, you have to think about what your angle is. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, we've seen there's plenty of examples of people out there, not just in stand up, who are just kind of speaking on something to speak on something, and you can tell they don't really have a stance. They're just kind of going with
Mm-hmm.
the flow, whether they're trying to get popular or, you know, just be involved in any sort of conversation. But if you really think about it and you care, I guess hey, now we're kind of coming at them. I'm not gonna name no names. I don't have any names, uh, but you know, if you really kind of have integrity and you're like, all right, let me speak on this, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen it too in artwork. You can go into something thinking you feel a certain way about whatever it is, but then through trying to create that and processing and digging deep into your own feelings without even realizing it. That's the thing too
Mm-hmm.
that I think a lot of people don't realize, is they think, oh, you know, I gotta sit here and really think about how I feel about this and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, you can do that, but oftentimes too, you start working on something thinking you feel a certain way, and just through that process, without like intentionally trying to dig super deep, you discover, oh, actually I don't feel this way about it, or I thought I did, but that was kind of masking this other, the true emotion or the true feeling behind it, which
Mm-hmm.
is this, and this is just kind of how it was
Yeah.
manifesting, and I didn't
Yeah.
even
Yeah. Yeah.
realize that. It's just, yeah, that's kind of that therapeutic aspect of it, like you were saying, that you don't even realize, where it's like you have to at least think about it on some level, you know,
Mm-hmm.
some level of, okay, how do I, at the very base, do I like it, do I not like it, you know, that kind of thing. I kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit, but
I think I followed you because I think one of the things that's important is that kind of like reflective process,
yeah.
because you're having to deal with like, okay, what do I actually want? Like, what do I actually want to say? Like, what do I actually want? And you're forced to like confront like, okay, am I really doing this for like this reason that I said, or is like why am I actually like going through this thing, like I guess like more specifically, like even with the protests, it's like I think a lot of people don't know exactly why they're there.
Mm,
You know, like some people are very clear, like they have a very clear political agenda, and that's why they're there.
yeah.
You know, some people saw like the video and they're just like out there, but they don't really know. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, like I'm gonna be out here and be angry, but I don't really know exactly what to work towards, what the process is to actually create change.
Yeah.
So then those people just go home at the end of the day. That's another reason why these like the protests and stuff are like that movement. So it's like not that sustainable, because the vast majority of people are there. They're not actually like organized in a way to like build towards something. They're not conscious about like the underlying problems that causes the George Floyd murder to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's just like it's like a process in like just like critical thinking, you know, um, really exploring like digging deeper than just like the surface, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like it's a process, and it's also something that isn't like critical thing. Like I did like a philosophy major when I was like an undergrad, and it's like doing that. I'm like, man, philosophy should be something that should be taught at every level of school.
Mm.
Like, you should start off in like elementary school with philosophy, because it's just if anything else, it's an exercise in critical thinking, which helps you formulate like arguments and develop reasons why you think something.
Yeah.
And having good reasons, and then that you can defend, and then you like with that, like, you are able to make better decisions on like what your own beliefs are, and be able to defend those. And it's not just like, well, I'm a Republican because my dad is, or I'm a Democrat because my dad is, or my mom is, or that's just how I was raised, or that was the community I was in, which requires like no actual critical assessment of like who you are as a person, what your actual beliefs and goals and desires are, needs are. And I think, when you're, and then going back to like just the idea of like building something, in trying to like create something, it's you have to deal with those questions. It requires a certain level of critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's just important, because again, it's like we must tear down the statue. Well, it doesn't really take too much critical thinking to like pick up a hammer or tie a rope around something and pull it down, especially when like 100 other people are also already doing it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying don't do that.
Do it, but don't brag about your critical thinking skills because of it afterwards. That's all we're saying.
Just know what you're doing. Just be more aware of what you're actually doing.
How would you say this has kind of affected your life and your moves going forward since you kind of realized this distinction?
Well, I think it focuses me on like when I want to address like fundamental changes I want to see. So if it's like institutions or dealing with the art world or the ceramics world, and things like that, I always want to focus myself or orient myself to like when I make a decision, it's so that I'm building towards this goal. It's like, oh, this institution did like some fucked up thing, or they've had a fucked up history or past or something. Am I going to spend all my time and energy trying to tear them down? Or like, or can we just build whatever that function is that institution does? Like, can we build it over here with these other people? Or how else can I build towards, or do I even need that institution? Can they be taken out of the equation in a way that like, oh, like, do I need them to put on a show? Or can I just like call up the homies and we organize a show together? Especially with all these new tools like Instagram and stuff, like we can self-promote. We can do a lot of things ourselves. And at the end of the day, if something is still created, the show still happens, or we get resources to a person who needs it anyway, that feels way better and is more productive, and I'm feel more sane and less depressed at the end of the day than like spending all my time like, how do I destroy them? How do I destroy them? How do I get back at these people? How do I like holding on to that shit? So it's like, just finding ways to like keep moving forward, even if I have to walk around these motherfuckers, go through them, whatever it is. It's like the goal on the other side is what's motivating me. It's what I'm focused on, instead of like, oh, that's a problem, I'm going to destroy it. Best. I think at the end of the day, it's just like a healthier way to view things.
Do you fuck with vision boards at all?
Vision boards? No. It's like the secret type stuff. Like when you
see, actually, here's what's really funny. So this goes back to the conversation we had the first time we tried to record. I remember talking to I think it was a theater class. I was talking to John Reynolds about the secret.
Oh, he has a vision board?
And but here's the thing. No, I cannot remember why this came up at all. Damn, and actually I need to fucking reach out to that dude, because this is like, I just remember kind of more of the conversation for the first time in a long time. But we were talking about like SNL, and I was like, yeah, I really want to work at like SNL, which I still do, but it's changed a little bit. But at that time I was like, yeah, man, just one day I think it'd be so cool to work there. I hope I can. And then he was, I think, talking about like visualization or like
Mm-hmm.
manifestation and all that. And he
Mm-hmm.
specifically was like The Secret, but he wasn't like preachy or anything about it and was like, you
Mm-hmm.
let me put you on some mailing lists. It was just
Yeah.
like, this is kind of like, this is a thing. He's like, just think about it and like kind of put it out there. And then like, I don't know, if you believe it, then like, I
Mm-hmm.
guess it'll come. And I was kind of like, yeah, that was like literally the first I ever heard of it. And it interests me, but then I kind of, lost it or whatever. But then vision boards, I also saw it through like some friends, and that I was like, I don't really fuck with it. Like, this is, you have a Ferrari up there and just money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think putting a picture of it somewhere is just gonna make it happen. But then within the last couple of years, what really kind of changed it in my mind, or that perspective, is kind of like you were saying, is working towards it. Just the idea of,
Yeah.
I have this goal and I'm working towards it. So now I really fuck
Yeah.
with them, but in
Yeah.
the sense of, if I have this in a spot that I can see it every day, then
Mm-hmm.
every day it's going to be in my mind that I'm trying to work towards that goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more of like out of sight, out of mind with me. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, if I want to learn Spanish, yeah, I'm going to be super motivated for a week. I'm going to kill it on Duolingo. And then, going to kind of stumble out of it. And then next thing I know, it's been 2 weeks. I'm really talking about myself right now. It's been 2 weeks and I haven't done
Yeah.
anything, but I'm just like, oh man, I should get back to it. And then I kind of forget. But if I have it on the back of my
Yeah.
door, so every morning before I leave, I have to look at it and say, I need to learn Spanish. It's like, fuck, that's right. Okay, I need to do that.
Yeah.
Then it's gonna be easier. It's fresher in your mind. That kind of stuff. So that's what reminded me when you were saying that, of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna work towards a goal, and instead of letting one obstacle in my way, kind of let me focus on getting through that. It's like, okay, what are the other options here? Because I still want to get, oh shit, because I still want to get
Yeah.
through that goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's when you put it that way. I think that's like that is really good. That's a really. I think when it comes to really keeping something that energy there present,
Yeah.
where it's like you're constantly putting yourself back, reorienting yourself towards this is the thing that I'm heading towards, and that can definitely ground you through like tough times when you're like, damn, like am I that good at what I'm doing? Like people don't care, but like, I'm
Yeah.
making over here. I think that's um, making it through those times is like when is how people succeed at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Making through those times when you doubt or you're having a hard time to like maintain whatever it is that you're building towards. It is important. Is important. I
Yeah.
think where people get fucked up with the secret shit is that yeah they're just putting Ferraris and $1 million on the board and you're just like okay like yeah if I just think about making $1 million every day then
It'll happen.
it'll
Yeah.
happen.
That's
It's
all
like
I got
that's
to
not
do.
like what do you mean like you just put Ferrari up there and like eventually it's like dude that's not how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just put something more concrete or like up there. I mean, because a lot of times it's like that magical thinking, like same thing that happens a lot in the church, where it's like the pastor's up there, and it's like to listeners who go to church a lot or grew up in going to church a lot, they'll understand what I'm saying. It's like the pastor's up there saying like you give 10%, and then that over that 10%, you get back like tenfold. Like that's like a verse in the Bible.
Hmm.
So you give so much because you believe so much. And then you get back tenfold, whatever that is. And that's how you end up with churches where everybody's poor and the pastor's up there with, a $5,000 suit on, telling
Yeah.
everybody how it's all going to work out. They just believe more and give more
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. It's gonna
And
come
it's just
back. It's
like,
gonna come back.
yeah,
Just
it's
wait.
going to come back to you.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many goddamn times. And it's such a trap of this like magical thinking. And the same thing with The Secret, you had this like magical thinking of it's like, oh, if I just put all this shit on this board, like it's gonna come back to me. Like even like I watched The Secret, and like one of the people like one of the people who are like the testimonial people or whatever, he's like, I put this mansion on my vision board, you know, and sure enough, like five years later, you know, I became like I ended up on the Forbes list, and you know, I made like like millions and millions of dollars, and I bought a beautiful mansion, and you know, I had this like beautiful wife and family, and like all these things working out, and then I looked back at my vision board, and the mansion I bought was the exact same mansion. I had no idea. And you're just like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah. And that man was Bertie Madoff right there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And he did it. And look at him.
Yeah.
He made
Yeah.
it happen.
And look at him. Look, he made it happen. All he had to do was steal a bunch of money from a bunch of billionaires, and he did it. Yeah, and it's just like that type of shit. I think it just like sucks people into this like magical thinking. It's like no, like what did he do in between there? He just says 5 years later, all of a sudden on the Forbes list.
Yeah.
Like, what did this guy do to get
That's a lot
there,
of days. That's a lot of days in 5 years, man.
Is he working 80-hour weeks? Okay. Yeah. Maybe you should put that. Also include that in the documentary. This motherfucker worked 80-hour weeks for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. At a job that actually pays out, you know, for that amount of work, you know. There's a lot of jobs you can put 8 hours of work in, and you're never going to see a mansion.
Would you say that this has kind of made you, just like kind of that example you listed of like, all right, especially dealing with like an institution or like a gatekeeper of some sort, thinking, okay, if there's a problem with them, either, you know, they're up to some nefarious shit, or they kind of don't rock with you in the way that you had hoped, being more solution based of like, okay, well, how do we still make it happen without that? Would you say that's kind of how you approach every endeavor now, more, I guess, kind of like self-sustained almost, of like, all right, it'd be nice, because that's kind of how I am too, where it's like, especially with comedy and coming from the Midwest and Madison, and then going down to like Chicago and seeing how much of the like DIY attitude leaks into art and everything there, where it's like, okay, obviously comedy clubs and shit are cool, but also it's a whole different feeling to put on your own show in someone's basement or someone's living room, or just like a little studio space that kind of you can make your own rules and do this and that. So kind of coming from that, having that like self-sustained attitude where it's like, obviously it'd be cool to rock with these people, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily waiting for you to give me the okay to get my shit out. Like, it's gonna happen. I need to do it. So as you say, that's kind of like how you approach stuff now, is like,
100%. It's just like, either way, that's where I'm going. So whether you want to help me get there, or you want to rock with me, or whatever the case is, like, this is where I'm going. And if you end up flaking out on me, I'm going to figure out how to make it happen. You know, if you end up not committing yourself to the thing, it's like, I'm going to figure out how to make this happen. Because I've had different instances where I was just like, I was really sure I was going to get this opportunity. You know, that's going to be a big opportunity or something. And the person on the other end, who is the gatekeeper, you know, is saying like, oh yeah, like, this is going to happen. I'm going to help you in this way, or I'm going to give you this opportunity. And then they back out. And then I'm just left being like, I was kind of starting to orient my plans around this thing working out, you know? Yeah. And then I've had to, you know, switch, or I had to like do something else. But there's also kind of the mentality of like, do I spend some time like trying to like, should I make a Facebook or like an Instagram post saying how this person like ruined my life, and like how, and now I'm going to like get back at them and tear them down? Or am I just going to like, what is my actual goal that I'm building towards? Is spending any more time and energy on this person worth it right now? Like, is it actually worth any more of my time and energy? Or do I be like, okay, this is where I'm going ultimately, so how do I keep going in that direction? How do I keep building towards that? And I think that's just like, that's helped me ultimately, because I keep on moving forward. I don't get stuck in the place of, you didn't do this for me, you didn't do this for me, you owe me this. And I think there's time and place to address those things and to like hold people accountable for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think more times than not, it's more worthwhile, and it's going to be, you're going to sleep better at night probably if you go the latter option and still find ways to make it work and be resilient through it. Because at the end of the day, you get closer to your goals anyway, and you figure out how to deal with those hard situations better.
Yeah. I think resiliency is the key word, because as you were saying that, that made me think of, or that made me realize how many people, especially in like civil rights movements like this, you see how many people do kind of get either caught, or maybe it is like a popularity thing or whatever, where they're just like, okay, I'm just going to be constantly focused on the next battle, the next battle, the next battle, or what this issue is, this issue is, this issue is. And when you get in, you know, you're fired up and you're like, yeah, I'm angry. I want to make some change, blah, blah, blah. But then you realize, okay, these people are just constantly pointing at what's bad and what we need to attack next, but never kind of coming up with solutions or ideas, or like you said, creating systems of change or creating better new ways. It's just people who are always kind of caught up and wrapped up in just whatever kind of gets people fired up and riled up. So it's, and that's especially once you're in it for a while, then you realize like, oh, this is really tiring. Like I can't just constantly act on or live on this just fuel of, oh, you got to be angry about this. And okay, well, this kind of came to an end. Well, now you got to be angry about this and angry about this. And like you said, you should be angry, and that should be kind of, you know, driving what you're doing. I'm angry about this, so I want it to change. But if you just only act in anger and, you know, like statues, just, okay, now we're going to tear down this one. Now we're going to tear down this one. It's like, okay, but why are these statues keep getting put up? You know, let's like kind of step back and focus on that.
And does anybody know how to build a statue?
Yeah, exactly. How about we start making our own statues?
Yeah. Like, I think that, the best examples of, the people who I've seen out there, like protesting and leading marches and stuff, they have a real end goal in mind, what they want to see their communities look like. And when the protesters go away, they're still there doing that. Yeah. They're still there building shit and building towards that thing that they see in their mind that their community can really be and achieve. Yeah. And I'm not trying to, and that those are not the people I'm talking about. Yeah. You know, like when I'm talking about the protests and stuff, I have so much respect and stuff for a lot of the activist work that happens, especially in Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is crazy. I just think like a lot of people just show up and they just have like, there's like angry, and then they're angry with the next thing, angry with the next thing, and then a lot of times they'll like be policing other people in the protest as if like, why aren't you more pissed off and angry like I'm angry? And it's like, dude, shut up. Yeah. Like if I wasn't angry, I wouldn't be here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it really is like, it's kind of just with anything in life, where if you're in it long enough, you see the people that are kind of all talk. And, you know, when it comes to a protest, it's like, obviously we need numbers. You know, if you have 5 people that are really good at, you know, building systems and creating change, like that's great, obviously. But also if you still have 100,000 people that are just pissed off, it's like, yeah, that looks visually like, okay, here's all these people. But when you stay in that space, and especially something is so emotionally draining as, you know, the protests and civil rights movements, if you're in it long enough, you do see kind of like grifters who are just, you know, they might mean well and they are legitimately angry, but it's like, okay, but you're always just angry. You're never like trying to think of what can we do? How can we change this? It's like, man, I'm just always been, like you said, then they start looking at other people like, wow, you're not as angry as me. You must not really care. And it's like, yeah, I care, but also I care about myself, where I can't just be angry all the time. I have to try to come up with something, a change that I want to see. And if it's not going to be dealing directly with the person doing it, it's how do I go around them, like you said, and still make that goal a reality, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying, just sitting there being angry, it's like,
yeah,
bro, don't you just get tired?
And then sitting there posting about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, that shit's just like, all right, dude. Like, it's one thing to inform people, but it's another thing that's just like, you're sitting there mad all day, just anger, rage tweeting or something. And it's just like, bro, it might just be better way to spend your time if you just go and just make something or volunteer time somewhere, or actually just go and just like actually do something, instead of just like everybody just trying to prove how woke they are and how many bad things they are aware of, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, cool, you're aware of a lot of bad things, more bad things than I'm aware of, for sure. So but I'm gonna go to the studio and I'm just gonna like keep making shit, and building towards something, and then you can just keep tweeting, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, hey man, Twitter's open, so you can just kind of keep going, do whatever you want.
And definitely argue with everybody who disagrees with you, for sure, because that's super productive.
Yeah, that is a huge thing I need to remind myself of too, because Twitter, especially just with social media, it's like, it's a double-edged sword. It's great that you can make your own space that, you know, is only deals with things you want to hear about and doesn't show things that you don't. But at the same time, there's that fine line of just creating an echo chamber and just, you know, all of that, and just thinking, okay, well, I'm seeing a shit ton about this stuff, so it must be really, really what's going on and really popular and really happening. But then you forget, oh, if you go out in the real world, like I have friends who have no idea about what's going on Twitter. They're not comics. They're not connected to like entertainment. They do music, but they're not on Twitter the same way I am. So like, I'm all fired up about something, you know, whatever. And I go hang out with them and they're like, I have no idea what that is.
What are you talking about?
I never even heard that. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Like this, you know, that isn't the world. But also, just being reminded that there is a lot of crazy and terrible shit going on, but it's not all bad. And there is still ways to make it better. It's like, instead of thinking you have to come up with a whole new system, like just go volunteer, go do, I was going to say, go watch kids play at a park, but that's really fucking creepy. Don't do that.
But don't do that.
but just to be reminded that there's joy, you know, and just see like, okay, this is going. Yeah. Don't just be standing there at the fence, just staring. And they're like, can I help you? And you're like, no, I'm just like, I just need joy. I'm just looking for joy in the world.
Just enjoying this right now. Just be reminded how wonderful life is. And you're like, what the fuck, dude?
Don't do that. And if you do that, do not tell them that I told you to do that. Don't, I was listening to this podcast and this guy said I got to go stare at kids at the park. And it's helping. It's helping.
It's helping.
Would that be the craziest thing?
I feel better now.
Yeah. It's and now that you confront me on it, I see how weird it is, but also like it did help. So I'll just say that. But
oh my god.
Yeah. Well, kind of wrapping up, were there any books or any sort of media or anything that has kind of helped you, not necessarily with this idea, but just in general, anything that you'd recommend?
I mean, one of my favorite books for sure is The Alchemist. Okay. I would have to look up the author. Oh, Paulo Coelho. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. But yeah, that's just like a dope book. And again, like talking about like that mindset of this person's backing out, or this person's not, or this institution or something is like doing something to me. The main character that's in this book, like he just finds a way to keep going towards his goal. Yeah. You know, he's like, I want to go meet this girl, or I'm going to go find this treasure. Kind of forgetting like why he goes on this giant journey, but like he just finds a way to keep going, keep moving through. I think it's just like a great example of what that journey ultimately looks like. You know, you go out into the world and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna go figure out. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna get there, but this is like how I'm gonna orient myself.
It's also like reclaiming your power too. Yeah, and without even realizing. Not to get like heady shit, but like without realizing it, they've taken the power away from you because you think that you need them to do X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
But in reality, you could do it all by yourself, young brother. You don't need nobody. But really it is, because it's like you don't think about it. And then, like, again, I mean, I'll use comedy as an example, but realizing you can put on your own shows is you're like, oh, I really just need a microphone and a speaker or something. If the room's small enough, I don't even need that. I just need a space and a corner for whatever to stand in. And then, you expand on it, and then it's like, okay, well, if you want it to be good, then you got to have lights and this and that. But in reality, it's like, you don't need all this big stuff to just make it happen. You have the power to just do it. And especially with art. I mean, I went to an art supply store the other day to get a gift, and I haven't been in one in a long time. And I'm not even like an artist like that. Like, I'll doodle, and I just like to, kind of do whatever, but just being in a space where there's all those tools and just knowing, okay, kind of these are, for the most part, what everyone uses. And, I'm sure there's super top shelf shit that isn't in here, but also just at its base, everyone comes here and buys the same shit and makes, X, Y, and Z. So it is kind of that like level playing field, and seeing that just got me like excited, because I'm like, oh man, you can, that's right. You can just do it. You kind of lose track of, you can just do it. You don't need to go to, fancy school just to make a drawing. You don't need to, have the best X, Y, and Z to just make whatever, it's like you can do it, and you got to reclaim that power.
Yeah.
Let's break down the word power. No.
Yeah. And because I think another thing that I just trying to get across is just like, at the end of the day, we have to find like joy, and we have to find a reason we have to find like purpose and meaning, and just like enjoy. We have to, like, it's just or else like all the shit that's just happening around us is going to consume us. I'm not trying to sit here and just like critique the protests or anybody's political positions or anything like that. All I'm trying to say is, like, at the end of the day, like, how do we sustain ourselves? How do we make these types of ideas and things that we want sustainable? Or else we're just going to burn out. We're going to burn out, and it's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. And we're going to be stuck where we started. And that's all. I guess that's all I'm really trying to say. Yeah. Because I feel like some things I have been saying to you like could come across as like what do you mean? Like, we have to like what about all these people locked up? What about like people not having access to healthcare and like food or like housing or any of these things? I'm like, yes, of course. Yeah. These things, like, it's not. I'm not saying people shouldn't go out and like protest or do these things. I'm just saying, like, how do we sustain ourselves, which then sustains whatever movement that we're getting ourselves involved in. Yeah. And how do we have the right mindset to really know why we're doing it, which keeps us moving, like going about it in a way that is intelligent and thought out and thoughtful, and is going to like lead somewhere at the end of the day. Like, yeah. That's all I'm saying.
So that kind of goes into the rapid fire questions at the end here. So we got 3. You can answer all of them. You can answer none of them. It's completely up to you. But the first one is, what do you think, just quickly in like 10 seconds or less, what do you think a key is to a happy life?
Key to a happy life is laugh, bro. Ooh. Find something to laugh at, dude.
Hell yeah.
100%. I love laughing.
Nice.
I love to laugh. And yeah, I think that helps a lot. That's why I love memes.
That's right.
I'm addicted to memes, dude. Like,
hold on. Hold on.
It's to dig for memes.
Because this might be the answer to this next, but the next question is going to be, what's one of your simple pleasures?
Oh yeah,
it is.
Yeah, but it's also chess. I am so into chess, bro.
Okay, how long you been into chess?
Since that show, The Queen's Gambit, came out.
I was about to say, bro, I watched The Queen's Gambit. I was like, let me try take a crack at this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that totally got me into it. I started playing on chess.com, and it was so great because like they have like a like lessons on there,
Yeah.
And then it like shows you like basic strategy, and then like you have like robots you can play against and stuff to like figure things out. And then you can play other people online
Mm-hmm.
that are always your own skill level, because there's like a rating system.
Oh, okay.
So you're always playing competitively against like people who suck just as much as you do.
Nice.
And it's great, and I play all the time. I love it.
Okay, last question is, who's someone you want to work with in the future?
Oh shit, that's
And it's funny that we talk about The Secret because because I'm like, yeah, I don't really subscribe to that, but with this, I'm like, fucking put it out there in the world, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, in reality, it's like you never know. Someone might listen to this who's like, oh, you want to work with Chris? I know Chris. I'll hook it up. But
I mean, it's always been my dream to like work with Kanye, because he dabbles in all kinds of shit, you know. So just like if I could help design something with him or something, or like I don't know, that would just be like crazy. That'd be sick. Or Kid Cudi. Yeah. Those have always been people who've been like, man, if I could just like, what if I could just design like an album cover, or like just make something, anything. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be sick.
All right. Well, if anyone listening knows Kanye or Kid Cudi, you know who to give them the number to.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, what's something you want to plug? Where can people find you? Who are you?
This is Isaac Scott, artist living in Philadelphia. And but basically, biggest thing would be like my Instagrams. It's this_is_ceramics, and also this is photography 2020 are my two Instagrams. And then my website is isaacspottery.com. So you find all my stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I enjoyed it. Great conversation. And as always, thank you for listening. Make sure to tune in next time when I'm back with another great guest and another great lesson. Bye.